And good evening. Welcome in again to another edition of the Dudley Hilton Show. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, and the University of Pikeville Bears, they've had a week off. That means we've got a little change in the Dudley Hilton Show tonight. Typically, we talk about the University of Pikeville football team. Tonight, an opportunity to talk about the other fall sports at the University of Pikeville, some that don't get as much publicity as they necessarily should, but we try to bridge that gap tonight on this edition of the Dudley Hilton Show. We'll call it the Dr. Reggie Overton Show tonight.
It's been a while.
Introduction with the UPike Athletics Director, Dr. Reggie Overton. Reggie, welcome in.
Thanks, Andrew.
We get a chance to talk about fall sports that don't get their due.
Sure.
Football in the winter, basketball, they get a lot of the publicity. I've been a minor sport college athlete, and you realize that you're one of those sports that don't get a lot of publicity, but we have an opportunity with an off week to bring them to the spotlight tonight. That's our plan. A lot of great sports at the University of Pikeville. We try to inform people tonight what's going on, who the coaches are, meet some players, and I'm excited about tonight's show.
Yeah, I am too. We got a good young stable of coaches, some new, some veterans. We've got some wonderful student athletes here tonight. I look forward to see what they're going to say.
I always like talking to the student athletes. Coaches, they speak coach speak.
Right.
Athletics directors, they speak AD speak.
Right.
But when you talk to the student athletes, you get it down. You get the real deal.
Well, and I hope tonight, Andrew, that they'll speak about academics, which is very important, and you'll get to see what their goals in life are. And I look forward to see what some of them, which direction they're going.
Absolutely. And while some they come to college without any idea of where they are going, we've got a couple of seniors, some experienced student athletes. And student comes first for a reason. We do talk about academics. We talk about future plans because a majority of the student athletes at the University of Pikeville, they won't make their living in professional athletics, but in other professional fields that they're preparing for.
Right. You've been talking to Governor Patton. That's one of his sermons. And,
yes.
And we do have to prepare them, and they realize that. It's minuscule, the number that go to any type of professional sports.
Sure.
And we want to prepare them for hopefully for careers in sports. But I think we do a good job. I really do.
A new addition to the majors program, the curriculum at the University of Pikeville, sport management.
Yes, sir.
And of course, that's an exciting field. A lot of student athletes choose that field because that's where their life interests lie.
Right. We've got an undergrad specialization in sport management, and those classes are filling up. Most of them have 20 or 30 individual student athletes in it right now. And the grad program is going to be up and running in the spring.
Right.
We're doing some recruiting with that, and that gives some of our student athletes that are already here at the University of Pikeville, if they want to go to graduate school or be graduate assistants on some of the sports teams, it gives them an avenue to to continue their careers.
Yeah, we look forward to, of course, the master's degree program in sport management. A lot of folks can take that. They can head a different direction. They can head down a sports management career. A lot of student athletes, they've been held back maybe a little bit because of the major offerings, because of the master's offerings, and a lot of student athletes headed toward the field of coaching.
Right.
And we all know that's a great field.
Sure.
You can land on so many different levels in that field, but sports management, it opens a whole new world to UPike graduates.
Well, now it's time for my song and dance.
Yes.
I think it's still the second largest industry in the world behind the oil industry.
Right.
And a mentor of mine years ago said you can put the word sport in front of any noun and come up with a niche. You know that one of our women's basketball players, Jennifer Grant, did the internship with the Dallas Mavericks. Hopefully we can place some students in the graduate program and undergrad with NASCAR down at Bristol, high school athletic directors, sport corporations, Super Bowl, and hopefully, this is the end of my spiel, hopefully when they get to the Super Bowl or something, they'll call their old mentor, Dr. Overton, and give me a ticket or something, or Andrew Joyce.
There you go. At least a credential. When you're rich and famous, please don't forget the folks who did absolutely nothing for you before you became rich and famous. Right. It is the Dudley Hilton Show. Typically, we talk UPike football. Tonight, I'm excited. We're talking some other sports on campus. UPike Athletics Director Reggie Overton. He'll be back a little later as we talk about the programs going on at the University of Pikeville. We'll talk about the spring sports as well that aren't focused on tonight but will be down the road. Tonight, we'll talk tennis at the University of Pikeville, also volleyball. golf, both men's and women's soccer as well. It's all coming up on this edition of the Dudley Hilton Show, talking U-Pike athletics. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in the Dudley Hilton Show. Typically, we talk University of Pikeville football at this time. The football team with an off week, they're preparing for the number 2 ranked team in the country, Georgetown. And as the football team takes a week off, we take this opportunity to catch those guys napping, and we talk about the other fall sports at the University of Pikeville. Joined now by the head coach of the tennis teams at the University of Pikeville, Tim Alderman. Tim, welcome in.
Thank you.
Of course, we want to talk about your background. Tim Alderman, how did you arrive at the University of Pikeville, and how did you land as the head coach of the programs?
Well, I was very fortunate. I coached high school tennis at Pike Central, and worked with my son for many years through the junior rankings, and there was the opening there, and I met with Coach Staggs, and it just fell into my lap. So I was blessed to have this opportunity to be working with these kids, and we're doing pretty good so far.
We'll talk about the season so far. Of course, both fall and spring for the tennis programs. We've got one of your players here. We'll get some insight from one of your players as well. But the U-Pike tennis program, there's a lot of rich history there in the days of John Kitchen. This is a program that has played in the national tournament. So there's some history there, and we want to find out where U-Pike tennis is now. Being competitive in the Mid-South Conference, what are some of the goals?
We're knocking on the door.
There you go.
We had a ranking of 25 in the nation last year, just
wow.
Coming out new, and I think we finished the season 13 wins and 4 losses, and actually we were probably 3 match points away from going to the national championships. So
wow.
Our guys just came on and played superb.
That's phenomenal. Of course, we talk about tennis at the University of Pikeville, both men's and women's tennis.
Yes.
You've got one of your players here, one of your men's players, Jose Marabal, a freshman from Venezuela. Welcome to the Dudley Hilton Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Venezuela to the University of Pikeville. How does one make that kind of journey? How do you find Pikeville, Kentucky, first of all, from Venezuela?
Because of my coach. He's a great guy. He's been very nice since I got here. I mean, I flew from Caracas to Miami on August, and then I came here. I visited many places. I went to Atlanta, many places, and then I just got here. I like it a lot. It's a pretty good
How
place.
does Pikeville, Kentucky compare to Venezuela?
It's a small place, but I like it a lot. It's pretty nice. The people is pretty nice.
Of course, you've come here to play tennis, and we talked earlier, student athlete. Student comes first.
Yeah.
What's your academic major? What are your future plans?
Business manager. So I would like to be a businessman in the future.
And you're just a freshman, so you're in your first semester as a college student. How has the classroom, how has that been along with practice, along with traveling for matches and such?
Kind of tricky, but I mean, I'm dealing with it. The language is the most difficult thing for me right now, but I'm working on it.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I would imagine you run into some folks that maybe you have trouble understanding their English as much as they have understanding your Spanish.
Yeah.
So the English, how much did you know prior to coming to the University of Pikeville? Obviously, you're conversational.
Yeah, I made 3 courses about English, and I took some classes in Venezuela. I came 3 or 4 times before I got here in Pikeville to the United States, and I studied practicing English. I mean, it's just to learn another language is better for us, and so I've been studying a lot.
Tim Alderman, head coach of the U-Pike men's and women's tennis programs. You do play a fall season.
Yes, we have a fall regional, and we did really good. It was played at Georgetown College, and out of 64 players, U-Pike had 6 players make it to the Sweet 16.
Wow.
So as a team, that's going to tell me that we're going to be at the top of the conference, top of our region. So when the polls come out in January, I'm looking to have a nice, hopefully top 20 ranking before we ever play.
There you go. Fall season complete now?
Yes, yes.
And what kind of off-season conditioning do the tennis players undergo at the University of Pikeville?
We run a lot. I run with the guys some, trying to get them to do some Ironman competition. We cut up some, but do the P90X. We go with that. These guys are just so self-motivated. I mean, classroom, workout, really dedicated. And we run, lift weights, play tennis over at Chief Logan Recreation Center.
Some indoor courts there.
Indoor courts, yeah. Right.
Got to talk about Jose Marbal, freshman from Venezuela. How did you find a tennis player for the University of Pikeville all the way in Venezuela?
Mike Marcano.
Okay.
I had talked to Mike, sent me an email and told me he had some good kids. And I told him what I'd required as far as the type of students I wanted. I said, you know, I stress character, the classroom, and then the courts. And I said I want hard chargers, 150%, and give you everything in the classroom and on the courts. And he said, I've got one for you. And then when I talked to him, I realized Jose, and I checked his record. I watched film on him, and I said, this guy's for us. Top 4 ranking in Venezuela.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Not bad. Not bad. Let's not leave out some of the other key members of the U-Pike tennis program. Let's talk about them quickly, at least get a mention of those guys.
Sven Rodenbusch from Germany, one of the top players in the country in doubles. We've got Gonzalo Saez Garcia, Miguel Saez Perez, several from Spain. We've got some American players.
Sure.
And but it's just a mixture, and these guys are just like family. I mean, they work hard together.
Yeah, we're having a good time here.
Let's talk about some of the goals for the U-Pike tennis program.
Okay, our goal is to win the Mid-South Conference and to win a national championship.
Lofty goals.
We can do it.
I like it. You set your goals low, that's what you'll achieve. You set your goals high, and you can reach those. Jose Marbal, freshman from Venezuela, member of the U-Pike tennis program, and head coach Tim Alderman. Thanks for being our guest tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We talked U-Pike tennis. Of course, we'll be back with more Dudley Hilton Show. When we come back, we'll talk volleyball with Shannon Gassman, head coach of the U-Pike women's volleyball team. It's the Dudley Hilton Show. Not U-Pike football tonight, U-Pike fall sports on the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. And welcome back into the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by the University of Pikeville, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talk all things regarding University of Pikeville football. The Bears with the week off, we take this opportunity to talk about other athletic programs around the university that maybe don't get the publicity of the football program or the basketball program. We're sharing airtime, and we're bringing much needed publicity to some of the other sports at the university. Joined now by volleyball coach Shannon Gassman. Coach, welcome in.
Thank you.
I know your season's well underway.
We are, yes.
You guys haven't been on the front page of the sports section yet, but you have gotten some publicity. But we love talking to some of the other sports because football and basketball, they get a lot of publicity. They're out there, but we love being able to talk about the other sports because sports fans, they are fans of most sports, and some just haven't been exposed yet. I know football fans that have never seen a volleyball match.
Yep.
And I've encouraged them to do that. Let's talk about your season up till now. How's the season gone?
It's going all right. We are we're currently we're 4-19, but it's funny. I talk to other coaches at this point, and they say that their athletes are kind of cashing it in and stuff, and I tell you, our team's not.
Right.
We've seen more effort now. Really, they've stepped it up quite a bit. So it's good. It's good to see.
We've talked in the past about recruiting, about coming into your position and how you fell into your position, and of course a change of the regime of the University of Pikeville volleyball program. A lot of young players, you've got some experienced players as well, but a lot of young players learning your system, and at this point in the season you've got 4 wins in those matches. I know you've played a couple of tri-matches recently. Is it seem that it's starting to click with the young ladies?
Yes, absolutely. I think that, like I said, just they're still so willing to, do what we're asking them to do, and energy, effort, all of it. It's coming along. It's definitely, they're laying a foundation. They're doing what we want them to do right now.
Growing a program.
Absolutely.
Some folks hear 4-19 and say that's atrocious, but you have to remember this is a program that's playing in a very competitive Mid-South Conference.
Absolutely.
The Mid-South Conference, we call it the SEC of small college, because the football side of the Mid-South Conference, tremendous. The basketball side, tremendous. What folks don't realize, in all the sports, the schools are very competitive in all of the sports, and volleyball is still a growing sport in our area, and playing a little bit of catch-up with a coaching change, with young players. So 4-19, I think, has to be a positive step in the right direction. And it's not like you've been blown out. You've been very competitive in some other matches that were losses.
Yep, we have been. So,
talk about your players. Let's talk about some of the key players. We've got an opportunity. We've got airtime to talk about some of the key players to this year's team, and here's an opportunity to do that.
Well, we have one senior on our team this year. She's also our captain, Brittany Hodge. She's doing a very nice job for us.
She is, and she's a local girl.
She's Allen Central High School graduate.
From Coach Colonel Larry Maynard's
That's
program
right.
at Allen Central. And I think a lot of folks around the area that may have seen some high school volleyball, they realize what kind of program that is. He is one of the premier high school coaches in the region, takes it seriously, takes coaching and teaching seriously, and just pours himself into that program. She's a product of that program, and obviously one from the area that we love seeing landed at the University of Pikeville.
Yep.
Continue.
Well, and then we've got a couple juniors and then some sophomores and freshmen. So to pick out individuals, is I don't know. They're just playing together well as a team.
Right.
Yeah.
And following their leader.
Yes.
The one senior.
The lone senior, yes, that's right. So.
But I think that says a lot for a young lady to come in and fight through adversity. Coaching changes. She was a star in high school. We followed her volleyball career then. Now she's winding down a career at the University of Pikeville as a lone senior, as a leader to a lot of young ladies, and setting a good example. We know Brittany, and we know what kind of young lady she is, what kind of player she is, and what a great example. Freshman and sophomore, building on the future. Where does this program go from here?
Well, we continue to do what they've been doing, continue to build on the foundation that these young ladies are laying, just continue in that direction. So.
Taking your lumps in matches, that's part of the growing process.
Well, and not just that, but I think, athletics in general, it teaches you so much. You fight through adversity with everything that you do. So no one likes to come out on the losing end of an athletic competition, but you learn from that, you grow from that, and then you continue.
Small college athletics, it's not just about wins and losses, it's
Absolutely.
about learning life as well. And a lot of the lessons learned on the court, on the fields, wherever it may be in athletics, they carry on into the workplace where these young ladies will be. Obviously not going to play professional volleyball, but they'll take what they learned, the lessons learned, into life. And great mothers, great employees, great leaders for the workplace as well. Coach Shannon Gassman, our guest on this edition of the Dudley Hilton Show. Normally we talk football. Today, with the football team off for a week, we talk about some other sports, and currently we're talking volleyball. Coach, you still have some matches remaining and the conference tournament. Let's talk about that.
Our next home match is Monday, October 29th,
yes.
Versus Rio. And that begins at 7. Next week we're on the road, most are all next week, and then our conference tournament is November 8th, begins November 8th.
So Rio Grande coming in on Monday the 29th. It'd be a great opportunity for folks that have never seen college volleyball, or if they have and haven't been enough, to show up at the University of Pikeville gym.
That's right.
Let's have a record-breaking crowd that night.
That sounds good.
Would that work for the young ladies?
That would work, yes.
All right. And then the conference tournament's held where?
Actually, it's in Louisville this year.
Okay.
So normally I think it's in Frankfurt, but this year it's going to be in Louisville. So.
All right. What are the odds of this University of Pikeville team shocking the conference, knocking off some folks they should?
Well, that's why we go out and play, right?
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what's going to happen day in, day out. So.
Coach Shannon Gassman, head coach of the University of Pikeville volleyball team. We're lucky to have her here. Great experience as a player and a coach, and the University of Pikeville volleyball team certainly one of the growing athletic programs at the university. We look for great things out of the UPike volleyball program. Coach, best of luck.
Thank you.
Monday night, the 29th, we want a big crowd there.
That's right.
Wear orange and black, and then let's knock some folks off in the conference tournament.
Sounds good.
You've been tuned to the Dudley Hilton Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. That's Shannon Gassman, head coach of the UPike volleyball team. We'll return. We'll talk more UPike athletics when we come back. Welcome back in the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talk University of Pikeville football on a normal week. This is not a normal week. The University of Pikeville Bears, they had an off week. They're preparing for number 2 Georgetown. And with an off week, we have an opportunity to talk about the other sports at the University of Pikeville that don't necessarily get the publicity that they deserve on a regular basis. And we like to take this opportunity to talk to coaches from the other sports and student athletes from the other sports. Welcome in Gary Warford, head coach of the UPike women's soccer team. Coach, welcome to the Dudley Hilton Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And, of course, one of your players, captain of the women's soccer team, and that's Kara Henning, a senior with the UPike women.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Coach Warford, we talk about the UPike women's soccer team. You and I have talked before on the Where the 99 Leads show, talking about preparing for the soccer season. How's the season gone so far?
We're progressing. It's still a painstaking process, but we're still working together well as a team, and it's a game-by-game, practice-by-practice situation.
Just like growing up a child, growing a program who's still in its infancy.
Right.
Playing in a Mid-South Conference with teams that have international players, that have players with much more experience than our team. Even though Kara's a senior, I know there are a lot of young players around her, and this is a program that's still growing up.
That's correct. Yeah, we have 2 seniors, no juniors,
right,
a plethora of sophomores, and a bunch of freshmen.
Yeah, that's a young team. And when we talk football with Dudley Hilton, who this show is named for, we talk about his young team competing against much older competition. You run into that on a weekly basis as well in the Mid-South Conference. Where is this program as far as where you wanted it to be at this point in the season?
We're getting there. A coach is never happy,
sure,
regardless if you have a winning record or not. But you can't really judge a program on its wins and losses. It's about successes on and off the field,
sure,
in the classroom, what they do after they graduate. You know, if all I do is coach soccer, then I'm not doing a good job.
Right.
I want to make sure we're molding these young individuals to go out and be productive citizens as well.
And you're not just a soccer coach. You're a member of the faculty as well.
That's correct.
Actually spend some time in the classroom. And a lot of coaches, they're not able to do that, but you do. You understand the importance of academics. Now let's talk to Kara Henning. Let's find out if she knows the importance of academics. Because first question, we talk about student athlete. Athlete doesn't come first, student does.
Right.
Let's talk about your academic major and what your plans are for the future.
Well, I'm a business management major. I graduate in May, and I'm going back to Cincinnati to get my master's, hopefully,
All right.
at a school around there.
And what would you like to do in the future?
Work in a company downtown Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Get in there and work my way up.
Catch a lot of Reds games.
Yes, I love the Reds.
I love the Reds too, so
hope
we're
they
all
do.
right. Kara Henning, we've got to talk about how you arrived at the University of Pikeville, okay?
Okay.
You come from Cincinnati, you come from that area. How recognized is the University of Pikeville in that area when you're coming out of high school looking for someone where to play?
It wasn't recognized at all,
How
actually.
did you get here?
The coach that was here my freshman year found a girl, Ashley Crutcher, when I was a junior in high school, and that's how he found me, and he watched me through my junior year and then signed me here.
Sure. Happy with your decision?
Yes.
And of course, you have to ask the question because a lot of college students, regular students who don't participate in athletics, they don't graduate on time. Are you graduating on time?
I am.
That's impressive. Because
you.
I know a college curriculum is tough enough. And then you mix in travel, you mix in practice, you mix in all the time requirements of being a college athlete with the classroom time. It's a very tough deal for a college student athlete to pull off. Let's talk about Kara Henning as a player. The U-Pike women, how far has it progressed under Coach Warford?
It has progressed quite well, actually. When I first got here, it was a struggle,
Yeah.
coming together as a team, losing coaches here and there, but he's stuck around and he's doing quite well for this team and the program.
Your high school program, how successful was it coming out of high school?
We won a lot of games
A
while
lot of
I was in
games.
high school, yes.
And you come to the University of Pikeville, you're playing for a program that is struggling, and still a new program at the time you were a freshman. How tough of an adjustment was that?
It was a tough adjustment, but I was okay with it. I like growing with the program.
Yes.
Like, I like being able to see it come together, like seeing at its baby stages and now it's like growing. It's a neat process to watch.
You're a senior,
I am.
6 games left in your career.
I know.
And let's talk about the future of this program. As a senior, you've been through some battles. Now, with a lot of, Coach says, a plethora of sophomores, where does this program go from here?
It's going to keep growing. The sophomores, I can see them staying. They're going to lead the freshmen down the right way, and every year they're going to get a new bunch in, and hopefully they form them into the right type of player, student, and hopefully it keeps going.
If Kara Henning talks to a soccer player from the Cincinnati area and they're considering the University of Pikeville, would you point them this direction?
I would. I have, actually.
Wow. You're a recruiting assistant. Coach Gary Warford, head coach of the U-Pike women's soccer program. 6 games remaining. Let's talk about that. When's the next home game? We want a big crowd out. I know soccer typically doesn't draw huge crowds here in Eastern Kentucky. It's a sport that's still growing. But when's the next home match? And we want to draw a crowd. We want to push people there.
It's this Sunday, the 21st. And actually, thanks to the men's coach, Coach Shane Pulliam, he actually organized it to be a game that promotes cancer awareness, since this is Cancer Awareness Month.
Who's the opponent?
Cumberland's out of Tennessee.
And the start time?
What are we?
12 p.m.
Noon.
Noon Sunday,
High noon.
Cumberland, Tennessee, and breast cancer awareness game. And those games take place at the Bob Amos Soccer Complex.
Yes, sir.
We want a lot of folks in black and orange there.
Packed stands.
Let's do it. Let's send Kara Henning out the right way as she finishes up her career at the University of Pikeville.
That's the plan.
Captain of the U-Pike women's soccer team, Kara Henning. Gary Warford, head coach of the U-Pike women's soccer team. Best of luck the rest of the way. Best of luck in life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kara Henning, Gary Warford with the U-Pike women's soccer team. You're tuned to the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Tonight we talk all U-Pike fall athletics. When we come back, we'll give the men's their turn. Coach Shane Pulliam as we talk U-Pike men's soccer next on the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless.
Hi, I'm Elisha Justice, a transfer student here at the University of Pikeville. I will be a junior next year, and I'm majoring in business administration. I grew up right in Dorton, went to high school at Shelby Valley, and I'm a really big family person. Looking forward to be back home and be around all my family and all my friends, and to play basketball here at the University of Pikeville. I'm Elisha Justice. Join me at the University of Pikeville.
Welcome back in the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, and normally at this time we're talking University of Pikeville football. The Bears, they've got a week off. They're preparing for the number 2 ranked team in the country, Georgetown. That's this Saturday, a 1:30 kickoff at the Hambley Complex. And we take this opportunity with the off week with the football program to share a little airtime with the other fall sports at the University of Pikeville. And we've talked women's soccer, we've talked volleyball, we've talked tennis, and now we give the men a shot. The men's soccer program at the University of Pikeville, joined by first-year coach Shane Pulliam. Coach, welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not our first rodeo. We've talked before.
Yes.
And, of course, you are new to the University of Pikeville. Let's talk about that before we go any further. Let's give folks a little background on Coach Shane Pulliam.
Okay. Well, I was a high school coach for the last 20 years, coaching in Georgia. I'm from Atlanta, and had a pretty successful run of coaching there. Twice named state coach of the year, 2 years, one of 3 coaches to ever do that in Georgia. And had an opportunity to come up here. Was told of the opening by my former head coach, Ray Wells, who's the head men's coach at Lindsey Wilson.
Quite successful program.
Yeah, they are very successful, and was able to come up here and interview, and I guess they liked me and I liked them, and here I am.
Here you are indeed. We talked about before the season started on Where the 99 lead that I think I made the assumption that you hadn't had a chance to do a lot of recruiting, but that wasn't necessarily true. Late in the game, you were able to bring some players with you.
Yes, right off the bat, they told me to hit the ground running, and I was already running. I left here the day I was hired and went to Lindsey Wilson. They were running a camp with high school players, about 25 teams out of Kentucky, and met a lot of the local kids and a lot of the local coaches, and immediately got on the phone with everybody that I know to start telling them that I'd made the jump to college, and was fortunate that I hooked up with some Mountain State kids as their program was closing down, and were able to get them in, and I brought in 2 players from our area, and most of those guys have become our starting lineup this fall.
How's the season been thus far?
Well, we're not, if you look at it, wins and losses, we're 0-10 right now.
Right.
But we are taking steps, and we are making strides. We're a young program. This is just the 7th year. I am the 4th coach in that time, and but we're making positive strides. We've started to close the gap on a lot of the schools that are playing mostly American players. We are still quite a ways away from the ones that are playing mostly international players.
Sure.
But we are gaining ground, and we have improved technically and tactically as the season progressed.
I've noticed the press releases. There are some close games, much more competitive than it's been in the past. 7 years of the program. One doesn't expect the program to be competing for the Mid-South Conference crown, especially with teams that play international players. But as this team makes steps and makes strides toward that, how far off is it?
Well, I hope it's not too far off.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm going to have a full year to recruit, and I'm already hitting the ground running in that respect. We've got some international players that I'm talking to and looking at bringing in, as well as a lot of the Georgia players, because I'm familiar with them as well as their coaches. Because mostly right now, people will come because of me, not necessarily because of the record on the team, and hopefully we can start to turn that around in another year or two. At least that's my goal.
7 years, 4 coaches. Instability. I'm sorry, it's the elephant in the room. It's got to be said. Now, in the 7th year of the program, how important is stability for this program to take the next step?
Well, I think that's a big step. You have to find somebody that's committed to being here for the long run, and that was one of the things that I said in the interview, that I am looking to be here for a long time. My son's a freshman in high school, and I would like for him to come on and play in college as well. And that's 7 years down the road, and I would still like to be here by the time he graduates from college. And so I'm not looking to get somewhere else. I'm happy where I am.
Sure. Shane Pulliam, head men's soccer coach at the University of Pikeville. One of your players here, senior goalkeeper. Used to call that a goalie.
Yes, sir.
I was taught that that wasn't correct. Goalies are on the hockey court. Goalkeepers are on the soccer field. Sheldon Thomas out of Corbin, welcome to the Dudley Hilton Show.
Thank you, sir.
How did Sheldon Thomas arrive in Pikeville?
A senior in high school, and Kenda Cook just contacted me, I guess. I had some success down in Corbin, asked me if I wanted to come up, have the chance to start for 4 years, and I had trouble turning it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, a senior, we talk about academics. Senior, and you are a student athlete. Let's talk about your academic major, how close you are to finishing, and what your future plans are.
Right now, I am a dual major with sociology and criminal justice, and assuming everything goes on path, I'll stay an extra semester, graduate, and hopefully become a state policeman.
Great goals, and only a semester off.
Yes, sir.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's pretty impressive. Talked with, of course, the women's soccer player, Kara Henning, and she's on time to graduate. Being within a semester, being within a year for a student athlete is incredible because of the demands. How different is college soccer than high school soccer? If a high school soccer player is tuned in right now and they're listening to Sheldon Thomas, who's got 4 years of college soccer under his belt, tell that high school player what type of differences they will encounter playing college soccer.
I would say the biggest differences would be the speed of play and just the general size of your opponent.
Right.
In high school, I was one of the biggest out there no matter who we played.
Yes.
And then I get to college and everyone's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds, just built.
It's a man's game.
Yes, sir.
It's a man's game. Also, the international game. You see a lot of international players in college soccer, whether it's in the Mid-South Conference or wherever. It's not something that you're used to seeing in Corbin, Kentucky, I would imagine. What type of difference does that bring to the soccer game?
It just depends on the nationality, because depending on who you're playing against, for example, Lindsay has a bunch of English talent, which is a strong physical game. They'll power through you if you're not ready. Then you go against a Cumberland who has Brazilians and Hispanic players, and they play more with finesse and flair, and they're going to try and beat you with technique.
Goalkeeper. Let's talk about some of the records at the University of Pikeville. I hear you're a tremendous goalkeeper. Let's talk about some of the records there. I'm going to throw a specific at you because I've got a feeling you know. What is Sheldon Thomas's record number of saves in a college soccer game?
In a college match, I'd say it is somewhere around 22, 23.
It's not bad.
It was a busy night.
Yeah, getting it done. Of course, that means that the other team's getting a lot of shots on goal as well, but that's an impressive number of saves. Sheldon Thomas, good luck to you in the future.
Thank
And
you.
good luck. If you need a letter of reference, fine, young man, I'll give him a letter of reference to the State Police Academy, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes.
Coach Shane Pulliam, best of luck to you the rest of the way as well, and in your future at the University of Pikeville. We look for stability in the program. We look for great growth down the road.
Great.
Coach Shane Pulliam and Sheldon Thomas, senior goalkeeper with the University of Pikeville men's soccer team. We're tuned to the Dudley Hilton Show. Of course, normally we talk U-Pike football. Tonight, U-Pike Fall Athletics. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. When we come back, we'll talk men's and women's golf, U-Pike style. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Right back, right after this. Welcome back in. It's another edition of the Dudley Hilton Show. Tonight, Dudley Hilton's not here. The Bears, they're celebrating an off week. It couldn't have come at a better time for the U-Pike football team. Banged up, and with the Bears off, we take this opportunity to talk about some of the other programs at the University of Pikeville. Joining me now, the coaches of the golf programs at the University of Pikeville. Kevin Otten, coach of the men's golf team. Welcome in.
Thank you.
And Nelson Scott, coach of the University of Pikeville women's golf team. And guys, golf, it's one of those sports that you don't have huge crowds, you don't have bands playing and things for your sport. It's a little bit unheralded, but very important sports for the athletes that are involved, of course, at the University of Pikeville. Nelson, you've been in the position as coach of the women's golf team now. This is your third season?
Third season, yes.
Let's talk about this year so far. I know you have a couple of tournaments remaining, but let's talk about some of the results and talk about some of your players.
This year, Andrew, we have played in 4 tournaments so far. First tournament of the year, we came in runner-up at the Georgetown Fall Classic. We had a tournament, our conference tournament. We finished, I think, 6th place there,
right,
out of 9 teams. And we've had another runner-up finish 2 weeks ago at Center College.
You have to be pleased with that if you get a couple of runner-up finishes. And I know you and I talked after the runner-up finish at the Georgetown tournament. You've talked about the improvement over the program over the last 3 years, and that has to be attributed to, yes, the ladies, they're improving, but you've also got some young golfers that have come in and certainly improving the program on a yearly basis, but also from tournament to tournament.
Yes, Andrew. I've got my starting lineup. I've got 3 freshmen, 2 sophomore. One freshman from Bourbon County, Brittany Brophy. She has made all tournament and all of the tournaments but one that we've played so far.
So you've got some good young players. That bodes well for the future of the women's golf program. We'll talk about more of what you have still to come as well. Let's turn our attention to the men's golf team. Kevin Otten, your second season as head coach of the men's golf team at the University of Pikeville. Let's talk about what your team's done so far this year.
Okay. Again, I'm the same boat as Nelson. I've got a lot of young freshmen, and we're building. I'm happy with the freshmen I have. The first tournament we played in, we went to NCAA D1's tournament, competed against all of them.
Wow.
Of course, our finish wasn't that good, but they got some experience.
Sure.
I kind of threw them to the wolves right off the bat, the freshmen.
Right.
That's one thing about golf. You have to toughen them up and make them get used to the pressure, because pressure in golf affects you probably about as much as any sport. But after that tournament, we went to our Mid-South Conference fall tournament, where we finished 5th of 12, which is a great improvement. We shot a score of 607, which is average about 303 a round. 2 years ago, we were averaging about 340 a round, so we've improved our stroke average greatly. And we just got back from a tournament in Rome, Georgia, one of the biggest NAIA tournaments in the nation. 27 schools. We finished 18th there, and their scores were fairly good too.
Middle of the pack with a young team. You have to be pleased with that. And you're talking that you've knocked 35 strokes off an average team score. That's something to be proud of as well. With the young team continuing to improve, and I know that's where the future of both programs lie, looking to build the program. You've been in the position for 3 years now. You've got your players now playing for you that you're out recruiting. How has that helped in being able to bring in your own players?
Well, once you get that one good recruit, it seems like it rolls and rolls. That recruit knows players back from their hometown.
Sure.
They've played with players in high school, and their other players want to come play with them, be part of their team. So that's helped in recruiting. It's recruiting.
Sure.
You got to get the good players in there.
And there's a lot of excitement around the University of Pikeville program. Kevin, how has that helped in recruiting as well? The college, the university, it's growing like crazy. And with that, a lot of excitement. The university known more around the state. I would imagine that it's easier to walk in and talk to a potential recruit.
Oh, yes, definitely. Our name recognition, I guess, has went through the roof recently, and you don't have to explain to the recruits where you're at and what's going on there. And for me, the medical schools helped me. I got 2 freshmen this year from Ashland that had huge ACT scores.
Right.
They were interested in the medical school.
Sure.
The medical school landed those 2 recruits for me.
Wow.
And great kids, and that's the kind of kids you want. You don't have to worry about them
being eligible the next season. Sure. They're going to make those grades.
It's an important part of it. They've got to
Right.
be able to make the grades to stay eligible, and that goes to further the growth of the program. Let's talk about some future plans for the growth of the golf programs. I know golf, it's a sport that it's tough to get a lot of work in during the winter months. What happens during the winter months for the UPike golf programs?
That's it. Hopefully we're going to do some conditioning because in our sport, people think, well, you know, it's not riding carts. Their kids have to carry a 30, 40-pound bag for 8 miles, 4 and 5, 6 hour rounds.
Right.
We even play some 36 holes. We're out there for 10 hours.
Wow.
So we'll hopefully do some conditioning because it is huge in golf. People don't realize it. They don't get to ride cars. They have to carry their bags. So mostly conditioning, and then hopefully in the warm, you know, any warm day you get them out there hitting some balls, keeping their swing out.
In some winters you can get that done.
Right.
And I know maybe down the road a long-range plan, looking for an indoor facility for the off-season as well. Nelson, the Hoops Athletic Facility, I know conditioning goes on year-round. That's available to the golf team as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So that's an important part of conditioning, weight training, not necessarily to bulk up, but certainly to build stamina for the golfers. Nelson Scott, we're talking about the women's golf program at the University of Pikeville. What tournaments do you have remaining? And let's go ahead and name the entire golf team.
Well, Andrew, first part of that, we got 2 more tournaments left. We're going to Bardstown on Monday. We'll be playing at Maywood Country Club. The following Monday and Tuesday, we'll be playing at Wauseota Winds in Pineville, and that will complete our fall season. My starting lineup is led by freshman Brittany Brophy from Bourbon County. I've got Kristen Cropper, freshman from Mason County. I've got Hillary Harkins, sophomore from East Jessamine. I've got Lake McKinney, freshman from Fairview, and I've got Lauren Gregory, a sophomore from Clay County.
Young program.
Yes, very young.
You expect a lot of growth, a lot of improvement down the road as they get older, more experienced, and mentally tough, because we know the mental aspect of golf is a huge part of it. Kevin, what do you have remaining in the fall season? And then let's talk about your team.
We'll go to St. Catherine to play at Maywood in their tournament, and we're playing there because that's where our conference championship is next spring. So we don't want to miss that tournament. And then we go to Pineville to Wauseota Winds to play in Union's golf tournament. That's our 2 remaining tournaments. I've got a few more players that I've actually played about 7 or 8 players this year, and they create competition between themselves. But so I've got a little longer list. I'll start with my freshmen. I've got Will Boyd from Pikeville. He's probably been my top player this year. Well, he has been. Timmy Miller, former regional champion from Johnson Central. I have Kelly Porter from Ashland, freshman. Drew Rothenstein from Ashland, freshman. Brad Litzinger from Mason County, freshman. Tyler Smith from Greenup County, a freshman. And then I have Cody Walker, a junior from Greenup County. He's one of my leaders as far as team captain and one of the top 2 or 3 players I have. I have Kyle McInerney from Michigan. He's a senior that's playing some. And I have Matt Baker from Fleming Neon, a former regional champion of the 15th region, who is a sophomore. So, and then I have another player that I want to mention, Casey Castle, who's sitting out this year, getting his grades in line, and when he comes back next year, he's going to be one of my top players. He's also from Pikeville High School.
There you go. Exciting times. Young players, and the program certainly making a lot of progress under the leadership of Kevin Otten, coach of the UPike men's team, Nelson Scott, coach of the UPike women's golf team. Guys, great future down the road for the UPike golf programs, and I know you guys are excited about your teams and where they're heading. We'll look forward to following you guys the rest of the way. Best of luck, and good luck in the spring as well.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
So the Dudley Hilton Show. Normally we talk UPike football. The Bears are off this week. Today we have an opportunity to talk about some of the other sports at the university. Just now, the University of Pikeville men's and women's golf programs. When we return, we'll talk more UPike sports. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless.
The University of Pikeville has developed a Master of Business Administration with you in mind. Whether you want to embark on a new career path, learn to do your job better, or increase your earning potential, The MBA program at the University of Pikeville is ready to help you advance. Designed for the working professional, you don't have to put your life on hold to come back to school. It's your time, your university. UPike MBA.
Welcome back in the Dudley Hilton Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Normally at this time we talk University of Pikeville football. The Bears with an off week, preparing for the number 2 ranked team in the country, Georgetown. We have an opportunity to talk UPike fall sports, all the other sports that don't typically get the type of publicity they deserve. And as we wrap up the soccer segments just moments ago, want to remind folks, coming up Sunday, it's a breast cancer awareness doubleheader. The women's soccer team takes on Cumberland University. That's a noon start. Then the men at 2. The proceeds from that game go to Saving Grace, a great organization here in our area. And I got a feeling you'll see a lot of pink on the field with that breast cancer awareness game. That's coming up Sunday the 21st, noon and 2 at the Bob Amos Complex in Pikeville. Check out women's and men's soccer. Dr. Reggie Overton, UPike Athletics Director, rejoins me now. You've got a nice group of coaches.
Oh, I was very impressed. They're well-spoken and more impressed with the student athletes. It just shows you the quality of student athlete we have, academically and athletically.
When we first began having student athletes, whether it be the Dudley Hilton Show or whatever venue, I was surprised because they come across very well-spoken. Most have definite ideas of where their future plans lie, and I'm almost not surprised now because that's the type of athletes. It truly is a representation of the student body among the student athletes at the University of Pikeville. They're always impressive. A couple of seniors on today's, along with a freshman from Venezuela who I thought spoke very well to still be learning the language.
To come to our country and to handle himself like that, he's an impressive young man. And I'll tell you this, and I know you're probably the same way. Heck, I was 30 or 35 before I knew what to do.
Yeah.
So these guys know what they want to do when they're 18, 19, 20. So very impressive.
Calm, cool, and collected. Of course, tennis under the direction of Tim Alderman. They're on their way, top 25 ranking last year, and looking for big things, of course, again this year. Volleyball, young team, new coach. They're making strides. They're growing. The women's soccer program, the men's soccer program, still in their infancy, growing. Young players looking towards some international players down the road. And then men's and women's golf, who have already been successful even this year, runners-up in some tournaments.
Well, as an athletic director, you want good people.
Sure.
And I can assure you we have some good folks as coaches, and that's part of it. The Champions of Character initiative that the NAIA has enforced and wants us all to abide by, I can assure you that they relay this message to their student athletes, and I'm proud of each and every one of them. The record may not be where they want it to be, but a lot of those programs, as you indicated in the previous segment, it's in its infancy.
Yeah.
And you got to take little baby steps, but make sure along those baby steps you're doing things the right way.
That's what it's all about. And, of course, molding students to become our future. And that changes our world, one graduate at a time.
That's right.
From the University of Pikeville. Let's do this again this spring.
I want to.
We
got
will.
some more sports. It'll be fun.
This winter, of course, the Kelly Wells Show. We'll talk UPike basketball along with the women's program. In the spring, baseball, softball, lacrosse. The brand new baby at the University of Pikeville. And we'll talk about some other spring sports as well. We'll make plans to do that during the spring semester and get those sports their due as well.
Study up on your lacrosse. I have no idea.
I have been as well. I've already got some terminology.
Okay.
I've already got some. Dr. Reggie Overton, Athletics Director at the University of Pikeville. As we wind down this edition of the Dudley Hilton Show, Coach Hilton will be back next week. We'll have another edition talking UPike football as the Bears are preparing to take on the number 2 ranked team in the country, Georgetown. Let's look for a win this Saturday. The Hambley Complex at 1:30. Coverage begins at 1:10 on Z-Rock 107.5 and live streamed at piketv.com. On behalf of Dr. Reggie Overton and the coaches from the University of Pikeville, I'm Andrew Joyce. Thanks for tuning in.